Okay, well, let's get started for the day. What we want to do is continue talking about the aggregate demand curve. We've talked about it already some. We want to finish that up and then go on and talk about the aggregate supply curve. So why don't we do that? As I recall, what we were discussing was this subject is what determines the position of the aggregate demand curve. We'll draw a graph on the horizontal axis, real GDP. I've been abbreviating that with a Q, and I will do so again, but I want to get them both up there just so that you're familiar with it. Here we have a price index, such as the consumer price index or the GDP price deflator. We draw an aggregate demand curve, AD1, and we see it in one certain spot. And the question that we were talking about last time is, what causes the aggregate demand curve to be at this point, position 1, rather than at a further point out, AD2, or maybe at some lesser point, and I'll just draw AD3 as some curve that's down here at the left. What determines the position of the aggregate demand curve? And we're also asking not only the position, but what causes the curve to shift. First of all, here's what we know. Let me just fix a price level, P bar, and for just a minute, we won't let the price level change. We'll just leave it right there. And what we can see by going across here with a dotted line, we can see that basically this is total expenditures, TE3. This is total expenditures, TE1. Here's total expenditures, TE2. I'll talk about that in just a second, equals C plus I plus G plus X in. If you remember, we had this total expenditures concept on the board last time, and we said total expenditures, that's those things that we add up to get GDP, consumption, plus investment spending, plus government spending, plus net exports. And if you remember, what I told you last time is that each point on the aggregate demand curve is a total expenditure amount. Okay, so this point shows total expenditures. This point, let me put an A there. Point A on the original aggregate demand curve, that shows total expenditures at this price level that we've set. And so if we ask the question, how could we be out at point B? The price level has not changed. The only way we could be at point B is for total expenditures to have gone up. And if total expenditures have gone up, it must be because consumption or investment or government spending or net exports, something else had to go up. And so if consumption has increased, the total expenditures would increase, and then the aggregate demand curve shifts outward. We get a larger level of spending at the same old price level as before. If the curve shifts to the left, we go from point A to point C. The price level hasn't changed, but we've got a lower level of aggregate demand because something happened over here in the total expenditures, or to one of the components of total expenditures. One of those components must have gone down. It could be consumption or investment or government purchases or so on, but one of those components had to go down, and that's what decreased total expenditures. So what causes the curve to shift, or what determines its position? And the answer is these things right down here, the consumption and investment and government spending and net exports. Those are the things that causes this curve to shift. Change in consumption, change in investment, change in government purchases, change in net exports. That's what causes the curve to shift. Now, I want to just take very little time. You can read your textbook about this also, but just a second to walk through and talk about what are some of the things that cause consumption spending to change. This is you and me. This is households we're talking about. We're not the household, but we're the people in the household. But this is our behavior that's being described. What would cause us to spend more or to spend less? And let me include a few things. Change in household wealth. Let me give you an example. You go over to the quick shop here, you know, you want to get yourself, I don't know, an ice cream sandwich for lunch, And so you're getting your ice cream sandwich and you're eating that down, and you say, why don't I just buy one of those lottery tickets while I'm here? And you buy a lottery ticket and you scratch off the deal, and it's really, I haven't bought a lottery ticket since the first day they offered the lottery, so I don't really know all the details of this, so please don't be mocking me out there in the crowd. But anyway, you scratch off the deal and it says $1 million, you won $1 million. And you go, hey, that's not bad. So you go cash it in, you get your $1 million, and you put it in the bank. Now, we know what's happened is your wealth has gone up. There's been a change in household wealth. It's increased. What happens to your spending? Do you just say, well, you know, I was happy the way I was before, and the fact that I have $1 million won't change me at all. I will just live the same life I was going to live anyway. Or would you say, hey, I've always wanted a new car. Now's the time to get that neat bachelor apartment I want, or whatever it is you've been wanting. Now's the time I'm going to get that. Go on vacation. Now's the time yeah, that's what we do. We spend that money. So when the household wealth changes, then our spending changes, and usually in the same direction. We talked before about normal goods, and the same general idea applies here is if your wealth goes up, just like if your income goes up, you buy more of normal goods. How about this? A change in expectations about future prices and earnings. These are prices you would pay and earnings you would receive. Let me give you an example here. Suppose you say, oh, I think prices of everything is going to double. When? Tomorrow. If you think the price of the thing is going to double tomorrow or next year, it doesn't make any difference. But you think prices are going to go up. Here's what we tend to do. We tend to say, you know, maybe I ought to buy those things I need before the prices rise. Now, it's easy to see this at a sort of a small level. Suppose that over at the gas station, gas is selling for, oh, I don't know, $1 a gallon. And somebody says, hey, you know, tomorrow gasoline's going to go up to $2 a gallon. It's going to double. Then what you say is, hey, the price is going from $1 to $2 a gallon. I think I'll go fill up my gas tank before the price rises. Save a few dollars. What if you think the price is going to go down? Then what you say is, I'm not going to fill up my gas tank. I'll wait till the price goes down. Then I'll fill up. I can save half. So if we expect future prices to change, if we expect future prices to rise, then right now we want to spend more and beat the price increase. If we expect future prices to fall, then we want to hold back and don't spend now, wait for the price to go down. That affects our consumption spending. And I'm saying, during periods when there's inflation, during periods when people are saying, boy, prices are really going up, you know, then what they do is they start speeding up their purchases and buying things early. And when they do, they're driving up consumption spending. And that shows up as a shift in aggregate. A change in your future earnings, if you have expectations about that. In fact, let me just say you do have expectations about that. I can read minds. How can I read minds? Well, you're in college, and you're going to college partly to have higher earnings in the future. And so you think you're going to college, you are. You think you're going to get a degree, you probably will. You think you're going to go out in the job market and earn more than you would have had you not gone on to college. So you do have an expectation of your future earnings going up. And so if I can give an example, let's just suppose that right now, I'll just pick a number. Let's say right now that your earnings are $6,000 a year. And let's talk about somebody else whose earnings are $6,000 a year. This is you and someone else. You know, I'm not feeling real imaginative today, so I just couldn't come up with a name. You're both earning $6,000 a year, but you're in college. You're young, you know, you're 18, 20 years old, you're in college, you're going to have these higher future earnings. This someone else is, I don't know, 50 years old. They're not going to college, they know that. You're earning $6,000 this year, but someone else is earning $6,000 this year. Which one of you is going to spend more of that $6,000? Here's what I'm going to tell you. You will. Because this someone else who's 50 and earning $6,000 a year and doesn't have prospects of, you know, like, well, I'm going to be rich in the future or even going to earn more than that in the future. This person is thinking, man, I'm trying to save a couple $100 a year because I'm going to be old before very long and I don't have very much put back and I'm in bad shape, and so I'm going to